Good afternoon. Citing any of your cell phones, can you turn the sound off? May affect the equipment. Appreciate that. I'd like to take this time to thank you all for arriving on behalf of the Rubin family. They appreciate your sharing this time with them in our celebration of the life of Suzi Rubin. Lee has asked me to read Suzi's obituary, so I will proceed with that. Suzi Davis Rubin. Suzi Rubin passed away on June 5th, 2026, at home in Dahlonega, basking in the moonlight and love of her family and pets. Following an extended period of health complications, she was 72. Suzi and former East Liverpool resident Leon Lee Rubin were married in 2001. Suzi was born in Atlanta and moved to Crescent City, Florida with her family when she was a toddler. She graduated high school as valedictorian and excelled at the University of South Florida, earning a degree in English with a minor in theater. Her love of learning and the talent for and appreciation of storytelling led Suzi to become a high school teacher for more than 3 decades in several counties in Florida, including 19 years at Eastside High School in Gainesville and several more at Spanish River High School in Boca Raton. She directed more than 100 plays. In their years together, Suzi and Lee built the life they had dreamed of, complete with a happily blended family, a home in the North Georgia mountains, and eventually several grandchildren. Suzi began visiting East Liverpool very early in their relationship and quickly was welcomed as part of the community. Suzi was full of life, energy, quick-witted quips, creativity, and endless love for people and animals. She never met a stranger and quickly gained friends and fans in any space she occupied at any stage of her life. She was an educator, raconteur, actor, performer, writer, entrepreneur, and comedian. Her warmth was like sunshine, her laughter like medicine, and her stories like an enveloping embrace. May her memory be a blessing. At this time, we're going to ask if you would like to join along, grab a hymnal, turn to page 2. We are going to do the first and last verses of How Great Thou Art. And please feel free to join in. And I awesome wonder, consider all the hands that made. I see the star, I hear the for I love you well, the universe is laid. Dance in my soul, I sing your God to me. How great thou, how great thou, and sings my soul, my Savior God to me. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come, we shall come back lovely above, and take me home. What joy shall fill my heart? Then I shall dwell in the land of the rain, and live in and sings my soul, my Savior God to me. How great thou How great thou art. That sings my soul, my Savior was with me. How great thou art. How great thou art. This time, Dennis Thompson is going to read the 24th Psalm for us. When Lee asked that this be included, I asked him if there was something special about it that wanted noted, and he said there were several things why it was a favorite. But he made particular mention about it, mention of the hills. And growing up here in this valley with our hills, and then now he lives in the mountains of Georgia. He's always been certainly appreciative and of their majesty and their powerful reflection. Psalm 24. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and those who dwell therein. For he has founded it upon the seas and established it upon the rivers. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord, and who shall stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to what is false, and does not swear deceitfully. He will receive blessing from the Lord and vindication from the God of his salvation. Such is the generation of those who seek him, who seek the face of the God of Jacob. Lift up your heads, O gates, and be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who is the King of glory? The Lord, strong and mighty, the Lord, mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O gates, and be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who is the King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. Thank you, Dennis. At this time, we are going to have a video tribute to Suzi. Unfortunately, we've lost our sound, but at least we can enjoy the pictures. Based on the smiles I can see and the occasional chuckle, I think that probably brought back a lot of good memories, first new ones. Before I forget, I was told to remind everybody there is a guest book in the back. If you would take time to sign it sometime today, that would be appreciated. And at this time, we are going to be blessed with a musical interlude by Sarah Beaudry, accompanied by David Kelly. The first one is going to be in the Sweet By and By. And Sarah has invited everybody to join in on the chorus, right? Yes, and we have these larger handmade hymnals somewhere in the views. I believe it is on page 3.
Definitely join in.
Yes, the third one in.
It's a land that is fair on the day, and when we can see it. we shall see on that beautiful shore. Holding the sons of the light, and their spirit shall soar. To sigh for the blessing of rest. To our bountiful Father above, we will offer our praise and the blessings that follow.
Thank you, Sarah. Very at this time, we are going to have a very open conversation here. And I'm going to let you get your thoughts together, but we would like you to come up or stand where you are and relate stories about Suzi, your relationship, how she made you feel, whatever is on your mind. And I'm going to give you some time to think because I have two that I have been asked to read. One is from Rebecca, her caregiver, and one is from my wife, Sandy, who was like this with Suzi, and she doesn't think she can keep a straight face reading it herself. So I'm going to start with the one from Rebecca. Rebecca Bailey was Suzi's caregiver in Bellonica on and off for almost 5 years. Some of us had the opportunity to meet her when she came to East Liverpool with Suzi and Lee this past April. She wants all of you to know how welcome you made her feel, and she is happy to be friends with you on Facebook. Here's Rebecca's message. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you to the Rubin family for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I am grateful for the opportunity to get to know and be part of their family. I grew a deep love for Suzi more than I can express with words, but I'll do my best. Suzi was incredibly loving, intelligent, sassy, and fun. 5 years ago, when I first moved to Georgia from Mississippi, I was working at Bell Minor as an agency nurse. I remember the day that we met so clearly. I was walking into Suzi's room and the door slammed against me. It actually gave me a black eye for 2 weeks. Without missing a beat, Suzi says, "Oh, I see you've met our ghost." We looked at each other and started laughing. That was the first of many laughs that we shared. I never thought that we would grow such a deep and meaningful relationship with her friends and family, would become friends and friends to me. Throughout the years, she became my best friend, mentor, and a sister, mother-like figure for me. The times that we shared together were special. They meant so much to me. I love to listen to Suzi tell stories. She loved to tell stories about her childhood in Florida, being a drama teacher, and having amazing students that she adored. Living next door to football player Emmitt Smith and letting Krista wear his Super Bowl ring. I could go on forever because there were so many great stories and hours of shared conversations. Suzi had the best stories. I'd like to share one about her childhood. Being an only child in a small rural neighborhood, Suzi had to find things to keep herself busy. She said that her father once told her that if she could catch a bird if she sprinkled salt on its tail. So for hours at a time, she would run around the yard with a salt shaker trying to catch a bird. Suzi never caught the bird. Every morning when I would wake her up, and we would watch the Golden Girls together, and I would dance to the introduction movie and sing along just so I could see her smile and laugh. Thank you for being a friend, Suzi. Thank you for being my friend. Leon, I know that you're going to miss Suzi so much. You were both blessed to have one another. She loved you so much. You were so amazing with her, and you gave her such good and loving care. Suzi had an exuberant presence. She loved you and everyone so much. Suzi led an extraordinary life, and we should celebrate her life. My deepest condolences go out to the family members. Suzi Q, you will be forever in our hearts and on our minds. I love you and I miss you, Rebecca Rhodes. And for my wife. In 2010, Lee and Suzi came to town for the all-school reunion, and that's where we first met precious Suzi Rubin. Lee announced that they would be at the hot dog shop if anyone wanted to meet. We got there early, and as soon as I saw them walk in, I ran over to get my hugs and to finally meet Suzi in person. We were instant friends who became sisters. We sat together talking, laughing, and never stopped. It was always an adventure with us. She soon found Cricksters, and it became one of her favorite breakfast spots, and we shared so many of them together that we could easily order for each other, and did, just to mess with the waiters. She'll have coffee with lots of cream, I'd say, and when the waitress brought out a little dish with a handful of creamers, I'd tell her that wouldn't do. Suzi liked her coffee with her cream, a little coffee with her cream, and would easily use 5 or more in a cup, plus 4 packets of Sweet and Low, because after all, she was watching her sugar. Once, while visiting East Liverpool, Lee was admitted to a Pittsburgh hospital for a lengthy stay, and Suzi asked me to drive her her first trip up there. After experiencing her driving, I offered to do the driving from there on. She looked straight at me while talking, all the while driving off the road until I'd yell, and she'd just laugh and never took a breath of telling the story. They were always worth hearing to. Once safely at the hospital, we'd take the elevator up to Lee's floor, and I'm not kidding, by the end of the ride, she knew everyone who rode with us by name and what jobs they were or who they were visiting. When she stepped off, she told me that I really needed to bring my daughters up with us so they could meet their future husbands on the elevator to any luck and be daughters. And I'll interject, I could believe that because Suzi tried the darndest to set Sierra up with Tim Tebow. And she was serious too. I couldn't take her to visit I couldn't take her one visit one afternoon, but she felt confident enough to drive herself. She arrived safely and then couldn't find her way back, so I got a frantic call from home. I told her You're going to head west. And she quickly says, don't give me those kind of directions. I need visuals. Can you see the river? Yes. Which side? On the left. Good. Can you see the tall building that looks like a castle? Yes. On the right. Great. You're going the right way. Watch for signs to the airport or tunnel. Okay, I see it. Follow those signs. Okay, I got it. And I lost the call. With God's help, she made it home. We laughed every time we got in the car after that, and I drove. She loved her animals too. So I took her to visit my brother who had herds on horses, and one was named Suzi. She was so excited to meet her namesake and fed her apples and carrots, becoming best friends. Next stop was with our friend Debbie Waller to visit an alpaca farm, where we each got a kiss from one of them. She was more than upset that Lee wouldn't let her have one, or a goat, or a cat, or another dog. Our other must-do trip was Boscov's. Her daughter Kristen made me promise not to let her buy clothes if we're too big. So I carefully swapped out things she wanted to try on for something smaller. She was so excited that they fit and had to call Kristen right there in the dressing room to brag about the smaller size. At the register, she pulled out a baggie with credit cards of every color wrapped in paper rubber bands and would have to sort through them to decide which to use. So while in the store, I bought her a credit card wallet and made her toss it into her plastic bag. She rewarded me with getting matching fur jackets. She was so proud. Then we went to Sephora because she needed eyeliner, just eyeliner. I'm pretty sure the sales girl saw easy prey on Suzi's forehead because she had her loaded up with makeup, including rum raisin purple lipstick. I thought it was too dark for her, but the savvy sales girl told her, oh, it's what all the young people are wearing. So, of course, she had to have it. My eyes popped at the register, as I'm sure Lee's would have too. When we got home, he asked her how much she spent. She looked him right in the eye and sweetly asked, have they turned the lights off yet? And he said no, so she said, don't worry about it then, precious. One Easter, Lee and Suzi joined us for dinner, and I had baked a raisin pie, which she had never had before. And I created a monster. Every time we were in town, she'd hint that another pie would be a great idea, until I ended up sending the recipe to Lee, including the pie crust. She couldn't get enough. On their last visit here this spring, we shared a wonderful meal with them at the Rubin's house, and I offered to bring the dessert. I made an apple pizza because I had plenty of apples on hand. After dinner, I brought it out. She took one look and gave me such a stink eye and said, that's not raisin pie. And I quickly had to apologize because I didn't have raisins to make the pie. She reluctantly ate it, and I'll probably always regret that. It's appropriate that we honor Suzi here in our church today because I once invited her to come to my family, and she fell in love with everyone and called us her Ohio church, attending each time they were in town. And when we sang the hymn, Precious Lord, I can't help but think of her because she called everyone precious. She never failed to ask me, how's Pastor Rob? And Miss Bonnie doing? How's Mike? How's Miss Matt? She fit right in. I remember after one service, she complimented our preacher for his sermon, but confessed she probably falls short, admitting that she liked to swear too much. She laughed. Did I say how honest she was? These are just a few of the many moments we spent together, but it felt like a lifetime because she was so darn easy to love. I could listen to her stories about her daddy, visiting Jimmy and Rosalind Carter, her love of Elvis, living by Emmett Smith, theater, music, proper English use, books, the bloodier the better, our families, and so much more. I will miss her forever, but she made it impossible to forget her. So would anybody else like to share a story? You can do it right where you're standing. You can come up here and use the mic.
I'll get the ball rolling.
Good for you.
Unfortunately, I lived on town high school days, so I was not able to know Susie very well. But I was in Atlanta about 3 years ago visiting my stepsister, Betsy Blackson. And she said, well, my daughter wants bonded. Oh, okay, so we get I don't know, and so we're going along, we turn off these small roads, and so I didn't leave. She said he lived here, he lives here. And they said anything about going up the mountain, roads about this wide. And we turned into this place, I said, this, I thought to myself, this is no spot. I looked up and there's the, so it was the best surprise, so we spent the day at least out with Susie, and I got to know her a little bit. I was really not getting able to know her more. But that was the best surprise I've had in a long, long time. So thank you, Betsy, and thank you, Lee, for indulging Betsy and her arranging the surprise.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. Go ahead, come on. Peter voice. You and I have known each other since we were both 12 years old, and whichever one of us has one piece first, the other will have stories to tell. Susie came along later, but she immediately gave the feeling that you've known her all her life. One of their first trips up here, I ran into her at Walmart. And for years after that, whenever they would go to Walmart and I wasn't there, she would message me and say, we're at Walmart, why aren't you here? Whenever Ohio State played Florida, she had this annoying habit of rooting for the wrong team. She assimilated herself so much into our high school class that at the reunions, you just knew that there were people there that remember being in class with her. And just couldn't quite place it, but she was there. So it's like, especially listening to Sandy's story, it's like I realized how much I did not know and would like to know. I don't feel plans, but one thing I did know is that she made my friend happy. That was really the main thing I needed to know. When we first heard about this, Barb immediately thought of this poem that was written by Ludwig Jacobowski. How do you pronounce it? Practice how to pronounce it. Jacobowski, called Bright Days. All our brilliant days shine like eternal stars. They go past as consolation for future sorrow. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because they have been. And if the days get cloudier, our stars redeem. And from that, Barb then wrote this about Susie. Susie was a teacher. By the accounts of her former students, she was an extraordinary teacher. She instilled confidence, gave encouragement and guidance. Susie shared her knowledge and passion and opened her students' minds to find theirs. Susie cared and she loved. She readily shared that caring and love with her dear Lee. The adventures they shared on their mountain and together in nature, the music and plays. She loved their family. She loved her love with her animals that brought her such joy. The same joy that the wildlife who shared her space brought her, often without an invitation. Susie was a friend to so many. Her easygoing manner and sense of humor made her easy to like. She quickly became an honorary member of the class of 73. I think she liked that. The thing I remember most about Susie was her smile, beautiful, bright, welcoming smile. It was inviting and comforting, saying, "You're safe with me." It was like the smile of the ghost of Christmas present in the Muppet Christmas Carol. The one who encouraged, "Come in and know me better." Dr. Seuss paraphrased Ludwig Jacobi's
poem to the well-known phrase, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." Suzi left us her smile, precious memories, and now she is ours.
Thank you for sharing this. Anybody else? Don't have to be shy. Okay, well, we're gonna have a chance to talk downstairs. Anybody can speak up there. So at this time, we've got some tributes from the Rubin family. And then when they are done, we will proceed down to the social room and we got some desserts and things down there.
Suzi was a delightful sister-in-law and an exceptional woman. She was caring. Her great love for Lee was apparent in everything she said and did. She also cared for the Rubin family, our parents, and Betty, Jonathan, and David, as if she had been there from the beginning. John and David referred to her as a bonus mom, and through her, I acquired an amazing bonus niece, Kristen. Suzi cared for her students. She kept in contact with former students and was thrilled to hear about their accomplishments. Suzi was courageous. I saw her in action shepherding a group of high school students around New York City to see a Broadway show and to visit Canal Street in Chinatown. Not a task for the faint of heart, and she did this many times during her teaching career. Suzi was fun to be with. We both loved Broadway shows and Disney World, and I was fortunate to be on several Disney trips with her. We had good times in Boca, Gainesville, and Dahlonega, talking, shopping, and eating. She taught me how to eat grits and opened my eyes to other Southern delicacies. I loved hearing her stories about her childhood and her experiences with her students' plays. Suzi gathered friends around her, including here in East Liverpool. She immediately made friends with neighbors on West 4th Street that I hadn't known before, and she fit right in with all of Lee's friends. I will miss her humor, her kindness, and her love. But what I will miss most is seeing how devoted she was to Lee and how happy she made him.
We're gonna try an experiment here because Kristen just sent me a text and asked if she could say something. So cross your fingers. Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, people are nodding their head.
First, I just want to thank everyone. Oh, we call it. First, I just want to thank everyone for being here. And to me by extension, I want to say thank you to the Adele family, the Mercers, the Thompson. I really appreciate you guys. As many of you know, my mom was a high school drama teacher for the children in the professional. I wrote my first play was The Wizard of Oz when I was 4, and I played a witch. There's a Speechless There was my first spoken line on the stage. In this, Suzi taught me all the world on the stage, and you have to be loud when you think you should, so everyone can hear you. The Wizard of Oz would be my first or last time that my after school care or camp would be my high school drama program run by a student. Some of my earliest and most vivid memories are in and around that theater
and those rotating groups of her students, complete with random side quests and cons, with those teenagers full of their dreams and conversations I would only one day fully understand. In this, Suzi taught me the power of making the best of the cards in your hands, and the importance of childcare, which would ultimately become my career at the solution of power women, because they deserve to safely follow their dreams and passion after parenthood. Having a teacher as a mother is a unique privilege and equally dynamic form of torture. Having a mother as both your teacher and also is all of that together. Suzi had a bachelor's degree in English, which meant the summer before the big fourth grade writing test, I got practice prompts in car rides and individualized instruction on expanding sentences. Okay, tell me about the tree. She gestured out the window. The tree had branches. What kind of tree? What about the branches? She prompted. The tall tree had long branches. More, she began. The tall crooked oak tree had long branches that arched over the road. There, are you happy now? Yeah, she was being victorious. In this, Suzi taught me the power of precise, detailed, rich, and colorful language, and most importantly, the value of doing it fun. Speaking of colorful language, I really we are in a more traditional model for sure for this needed. So I have to be careful how we talk about the creative language. Suzi was one of the best cutters that ever lived. She knew more swear words personality than the combination and motivated them. During her play rehearsals, no direction went repeated alone. They came adorned and accessorized with swear words in ways that would have definitely gotten canceled today. During parent-teacher conferences where she would arrive full mama bear mode, no fellow educator was there. During sporting events, no rep or coach was safe. In this, you be talking what scientifically research completely confirmed. Sometimes just cutting makes you feel better. And while her cutting was legendary, so were her performances and performance she could elicit out of her high school students. I would later learn during college some of this could also be filed under a research-based idea. Not the cutting again, but the power of high expectation. And how students can often rise to the expectations set for them by their teacher. And boy, did I experience those high expectations so many ways. But most entertainingly, when Suzi was my teacher in an elective that she made me take for 4 straight years. An elective in which she gave me a class. Even then, I'm the one who did put her grades in her vitamin D, and just how much they were based on 5 and not only assignments to the day. It taught me not only the power of value having my expectations, but also when you feel like you can't rise to them, the value of being a personality higher and bringing good vibes. Just not me. As a single parent for my entire childhood, my mama didn't have the benefit or luxury of outsourcing too many important tasks and taking an embryo to adulthood. So, to be her own humanity, she sometimes makes the questionable choices that I find the ability to share. I'm sorry, like the time that she encountered with my behavior, how there I have like a 10-year-old and getting ready to be like an actual real, not hyperbolic wallpaper. I was running from the inevitable when she missed and hit the banister, breaking her finger. I was able to right before the football game that she was going to with my Aunt Pam, who is on the film. She very quickly adopted the new version of the story when the event happened in a playful running and chasing situation that caused the picture. Now it's a child. Which is a favorite football game schedule. And then Stated single parenting stated decision centered around that notoriously traumatic teenage milestone, learning to drive. You see, after giving me some basics and realizing that she was probably going to cause a wreck with her exaggerated screams and dash slam, she decided to turn me loose in my neighborhood at 15. Let me drive the car around in the neighborhood by myself unsupervised. Susie taught me that but do need basically to learn with trusted adults, and that sometimes what you don't know is probably for the best. Speaking of what she didn't know, I am finally at liberty to do some confessions of my own. I had also done my own narrative beginning story. But considering we did the statute of limitations, I think it's fair that I confess. It was me who scraped up grandma's car at prom. It was not just her slipping. That was also true. But remember, I did learn to drive without a lot of supervision. And yet, every time you accused me of selling my cigarettes or weed and landed with the company I was keeping, I was also smoking whatever with it. I did quit smoking cigarettes a long time ago for vanity reasons. Those teenage habits were rough on our mesh and sometimes codependent relationship. But just in the nick of time, when I needed the space to spread my wings and learn to fly, she met the romantic love of her life, and the man who would and still does show up for me in ways well beyond his title or description. Beyond Rubin. Best of all, Lee came with not one but two brothers, and I already had found a sister in my best friend who I founded my businesses with. So what would I need brothers to be? No big deal, right? And I was wrong. It wasn't anything to add them into my world. It was everything. And I have never been more grateful to have the Rubin family as my family. Susie and Leon fulfilled their vows. And their bond will live on forever, as well as ours as a family. In this, Susie taught me the most important lesson of all. Love and family are not finite. They are infinite and expansive, and it is never too late to find love or create family because the opportunity is all around. Just like these lessons, I could go on and on in great detail about all of the life lessons I got from my mother. When I was able to see her before she passed, and while she was still able to communicate, I asked her what sign she would send to me so I would know she was there. The joke was on me because I would see and hear her in everything. In every book I read or listen to, in every show or performance I watch, in every person who laughs with their whole chest, in every bird chirp, in every breeze. She's a great book, by the way. And while those sightings will be much more rare, the memories of her will not be. I'll be somewhere over the rainbow, Mama. I don't know.
Thank you, Crystal. And you live from Petaluma, California. But that wasn't a hard enough act to follow in Dahlonega now. First, I want to thank everybody for being here. It means so much to me. I finally worked up the courage last night to start reading comments that so many people made on Facebook. I think I lost count at 450. And there were so from everywhere, people who knew me, people who knew Susie, who were students, from colleagues, just from every aspect of her life. And it's just so powerful and so meaningful. And I need to give a special nod to a friend of ours, Jason Ford, who came down from the Cleveland area today. Jason and Susie talked together at Spanish River in Boca Raton, Florida. he now lives in Ohio. And Jason and his wife's first date was at our wedding. How's that for risky practices? And also Jason directed my son John in a production of The Music Man at Spanish River, in which it was his first play that he did in high school, and of course he was cast as a male lead, Professor Wilkins. So Jason, it's an honor to see you today, and all of you. I'm just so grateful. So here are my few thoughts. I have a crazy idea. I often spoke those words to Suzi in the more than 25 years we were together. Usually it meant that I wanted us to go to Disney World. You see, when Suzi and I met, she lived in Gainesville, Florida, and I lived 295 miles away in Boca Raton. So much of our courtship was spent at the happiest place on earth, because it was roughly halfway between our two homes. All right, it was actually more than halfway for me, but Suzi was worth it. People always ask how we met. A quarter of a century ago, it used to be sort of scandalous to say we met online, but we did. Back in those days on America Online, you could make a little mini profile for yourself that listed a few of your interests. I put theater in mine, of course, which to no surprise caught Suzi's attention. So she reached out. I used to say that she was trolling, but it was all for the good. We started chatting online and then emailing. She used to call me Sugar. No one had ever called me Sugar. I was enthralled. Since my son John had the good sense to enroll at the University of Florida in Gainesville, I thought there might be an opportunity to meet this intriguing woman. The first time we spoke on the phone was actually during John's orientation. We finally got together in person a few months later. I had to go to Orlando on business and figured that Gainesville wasn't that much farther up the road. So we arranged to meet. And that was it. It truly was love at first sight. To seal the deal, Suzi surreptitiously arranged for Kristen to meet me at a restaurant to make sure I wasn't an axe murderer. And she took me to see the back house on the University of Florida. I mean, I've gotten any better. It wasn't long before I asked Suzi to move in with me in Boca. At Disney World, of course. It was at Epcot, behind the United Kingdom Pavilion. She agreed. Later, I proposed to her in front of the entire audience for her final production of Fame at Eastside High School. Yes. There was one small obstacle, though. I had forgotten to buy her an engagement ring. I had to stop at a Walmart somewhere in North Florida to find them. I always refer to it after that as the Walmart Diamond. A few years later, while we were living in Boca, I said to Suzi again, I have a crazy idea. She naturally assumed I wanted to go to Disney World. Let's move to Georgia, I said. It made a lot of sense. My son David attended high school in Dahlonega, and we bought a house there in 2003. By 2006, Suzi's dear mother Penny was in ill health in Gainesville, and I figured we could get good care for her in Georgia. Suzi was distraught at first because she'd already planned out the show she was going to direct at Spanish River the next year. Honey, I said, you won't have to work. It was a done deal. So we packed up a truck and a car trailer and 2 pods, and we moved to our little paradise in the mountains 20 years ago this month. I won't bore you with all the rest of the story, but I want to say that our lives in Dahlonega have been full of joy and adventures and critters and blissful time together. There was a blip 5 years ago when we both got COVID, which led to Suzi being confined to a nursing home for almost 22 months. But throughout that dreadful period of separation, I was determined to bring her home to Cedar Mountain, and eventually I did. And that's where we spent the rest of her days. All of this would never have been possible without the love and support of our children, Kristen, John, and David, as well as my sister Elsa, and in recent years, our devoted caregiver, Rebecca. Suzi started coming to East Liverpool with me very early in our relationship. In fact, she got to meet our mom a couple of times, although she was in serious decline by then. Suzi and Doc Rubin hit it off right from the start, and she was a huge part of the support system we built around him in his later years. I think it was her idea to have chocolate wine for one of his birthday parties. And of course, she loved Fiesta wear. Ask me later about the time we took service for 10 back to Florida on an airplane. Countless people in this room adopted Suzi as one of your own. I think she became an honorary member of the classes of 72, 73, 74, 75, and probably several others. I will be eternally grateful for your unending kindness and friendship. It's the hard part. Suzi and I packed a lot into 25 years. Throughout the entire time, I never ceased to be amazed by how loved I felt. If I was traveling, Suzi would leave little notes in my suitcase, in the tote bag where I kept my toothbrush. At home, there would be more notes. One of my favorites, which I still have somewhere, said, "Mouse in the house." There were several of those. We said "I love you" to each other countless times a day, and always the last thing at night. We smiled, we laughed, we joked around, we hugged a lot. I'm going to miss all of that more than I can imagine. I wish I could continue to suggest crazy ideas to Suzi, but I suppose in a way I will, because I'll always carry her with me. Blood sugar.
Okay, like I said, gonna play a couple songs here, and while they're playing, take your time, make your way down to the social room. You can use this door here, or the door at the other end there, and we'll mingle and have some L&B donuts and all kinds of goodies down there, and swap some old stories.